Hey guys, Parfax here, and today I'm bringing you a 3v3 arena bow build. All right, let's get started. All right, today I'm going to be bringing you a 3v3 bow build. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about before we kind of get into it is my weapon choices. When you think typically of the bow, you think of it paired with one of two weapons, which being the rapier or the spear. Now, before we decide what I chose, I want to talk about a little bit my play style and a little bit of how I normally play the bow. Normally in OPRs, we're going to be staying away, we're going to be picking, and we're going to be dealing damage and just kind of running away from everybody. Now in the 3v3 arenas, you can, in theory, run away from people and you can get away from them, but it plays a little bit different. And let's give you a little bit of what I saw when I was doing the 3v3 arena. If you have a lot of damage and a lot of coordination and you're just worried about getting away, the rapier is going to outshine. Now, the one place that the rapier does really lack is if you're going against a decent ranged person or even two ranged, it gets to be a lot harder because the ranged can place themselves to where you have nowhere to kite. So the rapier just going around the pillar, which is like your only place to actually kite with, really doesn't do anything for you because the range can still pick at you while you're running away. You might get a couple extra dodge frames. You might get a little bit of an iframe or a couple iframes if you use riposte. But honestly, it doesn't do you a ton of good. Now, in certain comps, it is going to be better than others. But I also found that a lot of times I was targeting the healer, and sometimes the bow just doesn't have enough pop to get through the healer. So what I found was the rapier didn't help us there either. We could get on them, we could do a little bit of damage with it, but we were still mainly relying on the bow to deal our damage. Now, if you hit every shot, if you play perfectly, you just play with rapier because the bow can, if you can get the damage out with the bow, the rapier is going to be a better option. But what I found was if I paired it with the spear actually put in a ton of work. And I found myself using the spear a lot. When I used it a lot for peeling, I used it a lot for trying to help get the healers down. I used it in a lot of instances where the rapier wasn't as good. So for this build, we're going to mainly talk about bow and spear. I know if you guys know my build videos, I'm always bow rapier, but we're going to be talking about bow spear. Now, let's talk a little bit about our weapon. First and foremost, we're going to be talking about the bow skill tree. It's a little bit different than I normally run, and let's go over some of the changes. On the right side of the tree, the big hitter tree, we're actually now taking aim true and opening strike over Hawkeye and unbreakable focus. Now, these two passives don't give you a whole lot in the instance of even survivability, but they do help out a little bit. But the difference is now with the new recovery on the bow, you will be heavy attacking a little bit more. And you'll actually, if you can start getting your heavy attacks down, it can be a lot of burst damage that the target wasn't expecting it. And it's a lot faster now, and the hitboxes is bigger. So it actually turns out to be a lot better. Now, over here on the left-hand side, before we talk about my individual skills, we want to talk about a little bit of a shakeup. I normally take Archer Speed. I really love tag teaming these dodge and weave and Archer Speed. My actually necklace I basically got for this specific thing, but we're going to be taking only Archer or dodge and weave here because this is a haste that you can proc whenever you want. Yes, with the dodge changes, it may hurt this ability just a little bit, but we're still going to be utilizing this almost to its fullest. Now, the reason why we don't have Archer Speed is because we are taking direct hit, because with the new hitbox increase, this is a lot of burst damage from a skill. It's 150% weapon damage if you hit this ability, and with the new change, you're going to be hitting this ability a lot more. What you used to do is you would almost just put this on the ground, but with this new passive, it's going to benefit you just to smack a target with it. We're going to use this more as a single target burst spell versus more of a, we want to put an AoE on all of our targets, not only to pop up our damage, but to really proc the mark passive. Now we're just going to use it more as a single target, ability, and we're going to use it to, if it hits some other players, that's perfect, but we're really going to be using it for some extra burst. Now, the weapon or the ability choice you guys probably disagree with is Rain of Arrows. Now, I'll tell you why I took this, and it's really a two-part answer here. First off, it's because I don't like to use Evade Shot or Splinter Shot. I don't find these abilities particularly fun. If you are very good with Evade Shot, this ability can be pretty good. But it's honestly, it's just a little bit better than doing a basic attack. If you go all the way down here, you get some haste. But honestly, I'd rather have the 10% haste from Dodge and Weave than the 15% haste here from Go the Distance. That's why we took that one instead, because we can get this up a lot more. But honestly, I just don't like this ability. I don't like the way it plays. I don't like the way it aims. So if you like this ability, maybe decide using it over Rain of Arrows. Now, Splinter Shot got a nice big buff because with the new hitbox increase, this really buffs Splinter Shot. Now, I found that it does only a little bit more than Penetrating Shot, but if you're looking to really burst down a single target, and if you can get it off, these three abilities can pretty much kill almost anybody if you land them all. The combination you would want to do is probably Poison Shot into Penetrating Shot, giving the stagger, and then we're going to do Splinter Shot to finish them off. You really don't want them to dodge the Splinter Shot because that's going to be your biggest damaging spell. But if you do it this way, they are less likely to get out of it, and it is a ton of burst damage. But honestly, I really don't like these two abilities. I would prefer to run Rapid Shot, but this does root you in place while using it currently, so there is no way possible that I will run Rapid Shot. Even if I think that it is good, I would much rather run Rain of Arrows that root you in place significantly less period of time. Now, the benefits to using Rain of Arrows is it is an ability that you can hit behind the pillar. If people are really turtling behind the pillar, you can actually position it even directly on to hit the players on the opposite side of the pillar. And if you moved from side to side to get a little bit of a better angle, it can hit even more players. So keep that in mind when using Rain of Arrows. It's not just for people out in the open, but if you get them in a grab well, if they get a nice big stun, the way I like to do it is if you're running like with a sword and shield blunderbuss, once they go to hit the knockdown, as they're hitting the knockdown, I like to put the Rain of Arrows on them, so kind of help burst the target down and completely knock them out of the game. All right, next, let's go over to the spear, and it's a little bit different than I normally run as well. So we're taking the Impaler Ultimate here, but we're taking Perforate, Vault Kick, and Sweep. Now, if you guys didn't know, there is a change to the PTR where there are diminishing returns on CC, so the whole Stunlock build isn't nearly as good, and honestly, the Stunlock build doesn't play that well if there's anybody peeling at all, which there should be, because I imagine these are going to be a little bit more competitive and a little bit more coordinated. So if they're a little bit more coordinated, just triple CC in somebody's not really going to work via the patch, and it's really just, you can get out of it pretty easily. Now, the reason why we're taking Vault Kick, it's pretty obvious. It's just one of the best CCs. We're taking Sweep. This is a great ability to appeal for people. We do go down for Coup de Grace, but this ability is absolutely good. I love to appeal with it. I love to try to assassinate people with it. It's really good. And we're taking Perforate. Now, the one thing to remember about Perforate is it's an ability that is a channel as well, sort of like Rapid Shot. It's a little bit shorter time than Rapid Shot, but make sure you use this ability when you can't be CC'd, because it is very brutal, and I've had this happen to me to try to use Perforate, and the person will just shockwave you or knock you down or do any number of CC abilities. It's going to be pretty brutal if you get hit through this, but if you time it correctly, this ability does some crazy damage, puts a 30% run on your target, staggers them, and allows you to really just put the pressure on. This ability is great for healers. When the healer is just trying to heal themselves and heal the other people, and you're trying to put pressure on them, using a knockdown sweep into the Coup de Grace and hitting them with a Perforate. Honestly, you'd probably want to hit them with Perforate first so you can get that 30% rend on them. But it's going to put so much pressure on the healer that they're just going to have to focus on themselves. And even if they focus on themselves without some form of peeling, they're probably still going to die. So Perforate is amazing as long as you use it correctly. And then, of course, we're just using Vault Kick for the stun. Next, I want to talk a little bit about attributes and how I determine how much attributes I'm going to run. Now, of course, we don't know. We haven't been on the live server. We haven't been able to do anything with it. But here's how I'm going to allocate my attributes right now. So, I mean, I am in full 625 gear, but we're going to be running 350 and 150 con. We want that extra con here. Now, I normally run 50 con, but because we're going to be running in a smaller arena and because we're running spear, we do want to have a little bit of beefiness to us. Now, I thought on the PTR, I do run the 200 con. Now, it is 10% increase in armor here on live, but because we're in light, we don't get a whole lot of bonus from that anyway. It does give us a nice little bonus, but it's not that big of a bonus. Now, with the nerf coming, it is not that much at all. So we're going to be running 150, 350. Now, if you are running Rapier, which we'll talk about Rapier here in a second, you might want to drop down to 100 con, maybe even 50. But I do like that 10% to critical damage taken passive there. It's really good. And then also on a side note, if you want to run this more of a spear build than a bow build, and you think you're going to be on the spear a little bit more, I would go ahead and do 300 dex and put the rest into strength. That's really, really going to bonus or beef up your spear. This point passive right here gives you almost 12% damage right off the bat just for taking this on your spear, including the 5% damage to light attacks. So it is an amazing passive if you're going to go with the spear, but just going 350 dex, it's going to give you approximately, it's like 6.5, well, actually it's like 6% damage for a dual stat weapon. So it's still going to give you a nice little damage bonus, but if you really want to pop on the spear specifically, then I would put those points into strength. Now we'll go over my gear. Now, obviously gearing in this game is a little bit different, but I'll show you what I will be wearing and where I really want to up my gear. Okay, so first we're going to be running Lasbow. It's overall one of the best weapons you can use for the bow. There's arguably a few that are a little bit better, but honestly, they're a little bit more stat patty than just trying to like nuke down a single target. And then we have the Javelin of Druidic Empowerment, pretty good. It's not quite BIS, but it's really close to BIS, so we're using that one. And now we have our gear. Now we have Shirking Fortification, Resilient, which are going to be two of your best perks, of course. We do have Refreshing Penetrating Shot. Honestly, I bought this hat. There's been some talk that they're going to possibly buff this to be, you know, sort of similar to the Refreshing Pillar of Fire. And if they do that, this hat is going to be absolutely crazy, and I got it at a steal. Then we're running our chest piece here with Freedom, Refreshing Evasion, and Fortifying Perforate. Fortifying Perforate is a very good ability for here. Going to give us some tankiness. It's going to be really good. Sorry, I had somebody running up trying to talk to me in game here. And then we have our gloves here with Freedom, Keen Vault Kick, and Physical Aversion. I really wish that was Resilient. That would make these gloves a BIS for me. Keen Vault Kick's really good. Give us that nice big crit chance. And of course, Freedom and Resilient are really good, but Physical Aversion's not bad either. We're running Freedom, Resilient Pants, and then we're running Freedom, Refreshing Evasion, Fortifying Rain of Arrows, again, for a little bit of tankiness when we land our Rain of Arrows. Now, of course, if you're not using Rain of Arrows, you don't need these. If you're using Splinter Shot specifically, you want to get that perk or that one as well. There's a helm that comes out of Tempest that's really good. It's not quite BIS, but really close enough to BIS for the power perk on the Rain of, or on the Splinter Shot. That's really good. So I would go with that helm. But honestly, here we are running 4 pieces of Freedom. We don't want to get locked down. So I suggest at least 3 pieces, probably 4. And then honestly, fill it out with Resilient and Shirking Fortification as much as possible. Now, if we find ourselves really needing a little bit more Resilient, we do have a pair of gloves down here with Resilient and Shirking Fortification, but we do lose a piece of Freedom for it. So we'll have to play around with it a little bit. These are the pair of gloves that I use when I'm using Rapier. I don't really need the Freedom nearly as much when I run Rapier. So we swap those out for this pair right here. And then for our jewelry, we have Health, Refreshing Evasion, Alacrity. Honestly, Alacrity is pretty good for open world because we are running a decent amount of haste. But in here, it's not going to be nearly as good. We'd probably just rather have Divine there, or maybe like Purifying Toast. Those are all really good. I think it's not Purifying Toast, but probably Divine is what I would like here. There's a couple other good ones, but Health, Divine, Refreshing Evasion, or Refreshing are all really good here. Of course, we're running Featherweight, but with all our crit, honestly, I'd much rather just have a Thrust Hardy Refreshing Ring over a Keen Awareness Hardy Refreshing Ring. And then we have our Garden's Earring with Refreshing Toast. This one, I actually got 2 of them. I couldn't wait. I was actually really excited when I got it because if I could draw up an earring to wear, this would be the one. Next, let's talk a little bit about the rapier and maybe some cases that I would use the rapier. So if I was to use a rapier, we're probably going to use Isabella's rapier. It's going to give us the most damage out of all the named ones. Yes, it is not the best. If I can instead take away the Shuriken Abyss and probably just add a regular chain, that's going to be a little bit better for how I use the rapier. Now, refreshing move is arguably really good on the rapier, but the cooldowns are really low, and I don't spam attack on the rapier. Typically, I just get a riposte off, I'll do a heavy attack, and I will hit them. I'll do evade, light attack, flesh through them, back attack them if I'm trying to kill them, or continue going with it to try to get away from them and then turn on the bow and then try to pop them from there. So this rapier is really good. It's not Biss. It is pretty close, but Shuriken Abyss is a very niche item, and a lot of times the way I use the rapier, you don't really need it, but it's still really good. You can use any number of rapiers. We're not going to be on the rapier that much when you're playing the rapier build, so keep that in mind when playing it. Now, I will go over the rapier skill tree. We'll just go over it really quickly because this is basically my standard tree. You can look at it here. We're running everything on the right-hand side except for controlled breathing, and we're going to take this passive instead. I'm not going to even try to pronounce it because I'm sure I will butcher it, but pretty standard tree. I use this tree pretty much all the time. I don't really change it. You can go to reduce off cooldowns by 1% on any hit, but like I said, I don't spam the rapier attacks. We just kind of do a little combo and get away when we're just trying to stay on our bow build. Last, we're going to talk about a few kind of niche situations where I'm possibly going to swap gear. So anytime I'm going to go into 3v3, we are going to have a rapier with us. That way, if we really need to swap to a rapier, we can do that. And there could be a couple cases where you want to swap a few abilities. Now, when it comes to our bow, if you're going against triple range, maybe like triple bow or healer bow, rain of arrows isn't that good. You probably want to swap to something like evade shot. Splinter shot's not that good either, because if you're playing a very long ranged game, it is not that great. So honestly, evade shot is the best there. But like I said, I'm just not a big fan of evade shot. I just don't like the way it plays. I don't know. Maybe I'm just horrible. Now, if you're going against a heavy melee comp, what I would actually do is I would still run this set of comp. I mean, if you really like want to run evade shot to get a little bit extra away, you can. But honestly, I find that it doesn't do as much as you expect, especially if two people jump on you. The one knockback on one person doesn't really do anything for you. But we're going to run rapier, and then I am going to take a point out of this direct hit, and I'm probably going to put it here in archer speed because we want to get as distance as fast as possible. Now, if it is one melee and one ranged, like I said, we're going to go with this setup because this will allow us to blow up the range or the healer, saying that there is a healer, obviously. But the speed doesn't really help us out that much if they have a decent amount of range. So keep that in mind whenever you're fighting. Feel free to make sure respecking once you see the comp. You know, if you're fast enough, try to respec in between rounds. And that's the build. We will have some PvP clips, and you might have seen some of these if you've watched a few of my videos lately. But we're going to have some PvP clips coming up after this. It is going to be me on the PTR. Now, keep in mind when you're watching videos from the PTR, they don't have resilient, and the bow really excels when people don't have any weapon perks because the bow doesn't have any good weapon perks anyway. And when they don't have resilient, because we crit all the time, we have guaranteed crits with headshots, and we just do a lot of damage to crits with they don't have resilient. So keep that in mind when you're watching any bow video. You hopefully you saw my video about things you should know about the PTR. That was one of the things, was keep in mind on the PTR, there's no resilient, there's not a whole lot of weapon perks, so the game plays a little bit different. We are going to have more build videos for 3v3 arenas coming up. We're going to have a little bit of a slightly off meta build video coming up soon. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff in the comment section down below. Let me know what you thought of this build. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
I can feel the power, I can feel the power. Feel the power. Yeah, money that is time and hour. Time and hour. Yeah, well, I better activate the power. I'ma activate it, gotta make it, gotta chase it. I don't care what they be saying, I'ma do it now. And I've been really safe and I ain't giving up and I ain't giving in. Do it now for the dividends, I'll be on the path. I just gotta get it, cause I got my mind on some bigger things. So man, I ain't gonna give in now, I just gotta live this now. I be gonna be man, I'ma kill this stuff real quick. I'ma go take it to town, cause I gotta be that king in the ring. When I'm knocking them out, when I'm back with the blue. Cause I am just up on the journey, just know that I'm just going insane. might see. And when I do, I could never get no sleep. 'Cause I just need to get it, man, I need to be the thing that I just painted out, man, you will go see. See my vision, I'll be in it, I'ma kill it, I'ma take it all. Coming in, I'ma play it now, I'ma kill him dark, I'ma play the ball, 'cause I gotta go and get him, and I really just need it. Tell these guys that they can beat it, I'ma give it, I'ma grab it, man, take it, never receive it, I'ma make it mine. I'm explosive like a mine, I've been working every time, yeah, I do it on the grind. I'ma shine, yeah, every single day. I'ma kill this competition, 'cause I'm going so insane. Hey, I really go so insane. Yeah, I guess really ran through the pain, but I'm just back on my path and I fixed it now. It's really okay. So I ain't gonna waste my chance and just my time. So I'ma be a monster. I'ma kill him. This is mine. Yeah, yeah. I am ready to fire. I got a million desires that I just need to go achieve. I just need to acquire. So I've been climbing up this ladder. Yes, I'm going up higher. I need to do it till the day that I might retire.
Over the edge, feel like I'm floating through the air. The pain I felt is paid for, all is said and done. Oh, I am restricted, fixed upon the web. I need to kick the habit that my mind is breathing in. Break out, I've got to see. Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless. Burning the bridge that keeps us. I'm here and I'm feeling